I'm going to go through a few things that kind of set everything in motion for me. We were just joking before this about Dad and some of his comments over the years. Actually, a few of Dad's comments over the years have gnawed at me a little bit. So I remember at the peak of my obesity, so 319, and just I never hadn't lifted in years, just eating my feelings, happy or sad, eating them all. Dad had said something to me about Cooper at school and making sure that I wasn't the fat dad at school.
Dad said that?
He did. We were sitting at breakfast, and he was gently suggesting that it was probably time that I started trying to lose some weight because I didn't want to be the fat dad at school.
Oh.
And then he mentioned, I mentioned my skinny arms and skinny legs and how I, hold all my fat mass in the center of my body. And he was like, yeah, if you're not careful, you're going to end up looking like SpongeBob. I was like, thanks, Dad. So that was one of the things. But then it was sometime shortly after that, my sweet, sweet little daughter, I walked out of our bathroom, which is on the main floor, and I'd just gotten out of the shower. I had shorts on, no shirt. I walk out, and Claire turns around. She's standing out in the kitchen area, and she turns and goes, Daddy, you look a lot better with a shirt on.
Yeah, that sounds more closer to what would happen than the dad thing.
That cut right to the core, cut my soul. And, it was sweet, and I don't take... my kid is not in charge of my feelings, so I didn't let her think that affected me or anything. But I thought about it. I thought about it, and I really thought, like, my little girl who's 5 really thinks this. Like, she saw her fat, out-of-shape dad, and had that thought. And I was like, I don't want that. And rolling into the next, and rolling is probably the right word for this, the next 6 months or so, I rolled my ankle again. So I, if you recall, maybe twice a year through my late 20s and early 30s, I rolled my ankle bad enough that it would be black and blue.
You did seem to do that a lot.
Yeah. The one time I rolled it carrying groceries, and I fell and went headfirst into the side of Amber's van, headfirst into it, put a big dent in the side of the van.
Why did you keep doing that?
Yeah. So that was all my weak ankles. So it was shortly after that I was like, what, I'm done. Like, I need to do something more. I had bought a seated calf raise machine. So I have a seated calf raise machine over in the other side of the basement.
You can't see his calves on the screen, but they look good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Seated. And then I realized that seated calf presses or calf raises are probably like the worst calf exercise that you can do because you're not actually hitting the big meaty muscle.
You're hitting the soleus when you're bent.
Yeah, so I was like, all right, this isn't going to cut it either. So I started going to the gym and actually training my legs and ankles. And I will say, knock on wood, it's been 2.5, maybe 3 years since I've rolled my ankle now. So those were all a couple of things, or those were all things that, like, set me on my path and really got me started. So before I draw on, you've been lifting, so I started lifting again mid-30s. You never stopped.
Mm-mm.
Do you remember what it was that got you to actually start lifting?
Well, you'll probably famously remember me being 13 years old and weighing 270.
Mm-hmm.
And
you're a big boy.
Yeah.
I was crushed under your 270 a number of times in our wrestling matches.
Yeah, well, whose fault was that?
Mine. It was
mine. But a lot of it was just the typical teenage reasons of, like, not wanting to be the fat kid, the jokes that went along with it. Being named Whitney was definitely part of it. The fat kid named Whitney. I was like, I can't be named Whitney and then fat too. I can't give them that much material on me. So I lost 90 pounds, gained some of it back. And then I thought, I like eating too much to be able to be... I remember specifically thinking, like, seeing some of, like, the Brad Pitt, the Ashton Kutcher type, the model type guys that have a really small waist and the wider
Brad
shoulders.
Fight Club.
Yep, and thinking, like, I don't want to look like that. So I got down to 180 at my height. I'm 6'4" and some change. And I looked like SpongeBob, like you were talking about.
Yeah.
Big hips, small waist, big shoulders. I'm like, I look like hell. So I got to put more up here.
Yep.
And I like to eat food. So naturally, the only way you can do that is change your frame start lifting weights because little skinny, we don't have that genetics to look like that. Thanks, Dad, for the hips.
So if you remember the first time that I lost a lot of weight, so I was like 320, I got down to 225. Or no, I'm sorry, 245.
Deep into drugs, I remember that.
Yeah, just meth-induced diet.
Yeah.
But no, I got down to like 245, and I looked sickly.
Yep.
I didn't like it. So I ate my way back up, to over 300 pounds again. So I had to start that journey all over again because crash dieting and absurd amounts of cardio do not work. They are not sustainable, and it is a great way to get yourself fat again.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I got down to that super, super light weight for me, which 245 for me, it's crazy to think you were 180 at one time.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think.
Yeah.
I mean, I was 180 at like graduation.
But I was gaunt, and I still remember my BMI was obese.
Yeah.
I thought, what do you guys want from me?
Yeah.
You want to blame men for the unrealistic standards that women have? You blame the BMI that we have in school.
It's nonsense. Yeah, total nonsense.
I don't know how you're supposed to be built to not be obese on that, but I know 20 people from school that were perfectly healthy, thin kids, and they're obese. You're all obese.
Yeah. No, but so yeah, 245 for me was without lifting or anything. I was just walking every day for hours. I mean, I was hours of walking. I was eating like 1,500 to 1,800 calories a day, which was like starvation mode.
Yeah.
Like that's miserable. It wasn't fun. I didn't enjoy it. I got addicted to the comments about like, man, you're looking good. You're looking thin. And then I got sick like right towards the end of it because my immune system was probably tanked at that point because I did all of that in the course of like 9 months. Lost all that weight. So got down, 80 pounds down. Was miserable. And then, I just was tired of it. So I just started eating again. And I, like you, have crazy food drive. Like, what men think about every day, I think about food more than other things that, we're stereotyped for thinking about all day.
Like what?
Balloons.
I don't think that's really what you meant, but we'll go with balloons.
It rhymes with checks. Specs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I think about food constantly. I mean, it's all day. It's the food drive. It's got to be a genetic thing, I have to assume, because my wife could not eat for 2 days. And maybe it would cross her mind after that second day. For me, it's 2 hours. Like, after 2 hours, I'm thinking about food again. Mm-hmm. And even when I'm doing, lots of chicken, lots of vegetables, lots of rice, like, I'm filling my stomach up with food and getting a lot of good fibrous content in there. A couple hours later, like, I'm ready to eat again. I'm hungry. Now, I know part of that with the lifting is I'm creating this anabolic environment. My body wants to grow, wants to build muscle. It wants the nutrients to do that. But when I'm trying to lift and then also either just kind of maintain my weight or just slightly bulk, or God forbid I'm trying to lose weight again, the drive to just keep eating is real. And that's probably my biggest struggle. That's a whole other conversation, is just the struggle and the mental aspect of trying to get down in weight. But at the end of the day, circling back, getting into lifting, I think is the first time I felt like I could really manipulate that food drive to doing something for me. So I think, going along with what you said, like, you rationalized at a young age that in order to continue eating a lot and, satisfying those food cravings, like, you needed to do something drastic. You needed to lift weights. And that's my only saving grace right now is I eat, 30, I think my maintenance is like 3,000 calories. And sometimes it's a struggle to stay under that. Like the day that I have an oatmeal cream pie, or the day that
they're hidden. You shouldn't be talking about them anymore. I hid them.
Or the day that we go, run through McDonald's and I grab a, chicken sandwich, and those things are just artfully designed in a way to make me want 2 or 3 more.
Yep.
The drive to go eat is what inevitably sends me back to the gym, because like, hey, today I ate a little too much, so maybe I'll go spend another 10 minutes on the treadmill. Maybe I'll push it a little harder in the gym today just to
eat another hot dog.
Yeah, I already gave my body some building blocks, maybe a few too many, so I better send the right signal to go ahead and let it build on something.
Mike Israetel was talking about the way that they designed, and really carb-centric too, but the way that they, like dogs, you see it, you give a dog food when it's hungry, dog food, and it comes up, it eats the food, when it's full, walks away from it. But now you give it a hamburger from McDonald's, and it loves it, and it comes back up, and if it's not hungry and you show it another cheeseburger from McDonald's, it's going to eat that.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's yummy. But if you keep giving it dog food and it's not hungry and you refill its dish, it's like, it's whatever. I'm not hungry. Because it's not just a yummy thing for you to have. So we've been talking, me and Mom, about this a lot lately, because I stopped eating processed breads, rice, pasta. And that's not for everybody, because there's people that are young lifters that wolf down rice and stuff and there's no effect on them. But
I still love my rice, so.
Yeah. But the more carbs you eat, especially if you have a problem gaining weight, this processed stuff, you just want to eat more of those things. Yep. And it just slowly inundates your diet, inundates your day, to where you're craving just those carb insulin spikes. And if you're struggling with it, if you struggle with losing weight, our family included, carbs is one of the things you should dance carefully around, because it's very easy to consume an extra 1,000 carbs and just
I never want to demonize like one macronutrient, but for me, carbs are pretty easy to smash.
Right.
Like I'm okay with fats. Like I can eat. I mentioned, I like chicken thighs instead of chicken breasts because there's that little extra fat content. It's just tastier. But like I'm good there. I don't need to eat, low lean beef, or whatever you'd call that, high fat beef.
No.
I don't need a lot of fats, but carbs, like you give me a bag of chips, gone. Bag of Doritos.
And it's not filling.
Yeah, no.
You're
hungry
after.
after.
1,000 calories of chips, and it's not like you splash in the pot.
Yeah. So I agree. I think everybody probably has their weakness. Mine's definitely carbohydrates. I don't eat a lot of sweets, but like chips, ice cream, which ice cream has a good amount of fat content, oatmeal cream pies, which I don't buy often. Mm-hmm. That was for Cooper's birthday party, so those had to come home, and I had to steal some and put them on my desk so that he wouldn't eat them. It's unfair sometimes, right? Because he's getting into this with me, and he's 14.
It has a metabolism.
5'7", $110,
yeah,
$120, and he needs to eat.
Yep.
And he can eat as much as me or more. There are days where he goes, "Hey, Dad, how many calories have you had today?" And I'm like, I don't know, like I think I'm at 2,500 right now. Haven't had dinner yet. And he's like, "I've had 4,000." I'm like, I want to have 4,000.
Wait till
you remember what I looked like when I did that every day?
Wait till you turn 30, buddy. Yeah. Wait till you turn.
Yep. So that's the narrative I try to keep with my kids, is like, you can eat like this now, but you need to be mindful that as you're reaching your height potential and as you're kind of finding your body's comfortable weight, that if you continue to eat like that, eat Little Debbie's and bags of chips and stuff every day, and then God forbid you stop lifting, you stop jiu-jitsu, or
you
like
get hurt
with Clara, or you get hurt, or if you stop dancing for 3-4 hours a day, like that's a lot of excess calories.
Yep.
That's a big surplus. You're going to start gaining weight, and then you start to get unhappy with yourself. And if you're like me, that makes you eat more.
Yep. Because
I'm not happy with myself, but food does make me happy.
Food makes me happy.
I'm going to eat more.
Yep.
So we got into kind of why we started lifting. For some of us, it was being cut to the core by the ones that we love the most.
Dad.
Some of us, it was dickhead kids at school. Why do you still lift?
Honestly, part of it's vanity. Part of it is just, and I'm not perfect shape right now, by all means, but I'm now like realizing if I start taking care of myself now, I can age gracefully, I can still be strong, I can be the best version of myself now in my late 30s. If I don't, I work with enough guys that they look like they're 47 and they're 28, just because people aren't taking care of themselves. Yeah. And I want to be one of those guys that if you need something manly done, something moved, if you need something that I can help with, and I'm not just a little effete person that is, I want to be able to be the best version of myself, and the vanity's part of it. I want to be able to look decent at my age and not look like someone who's 41 and they look like they're 50. I don't want to be that guy.
So. Well, and, you're still, you're not married. I'll just say that. You're unwed, and you probably still think about finding a partner, right, for life. On your Hinge app, right?
No.
The one that you saw on my phone, apparently.
For your sake, sure. Just say sure. Yeah, for your sake.
So let's say there's still the potential of a long-term committed relationship, and you...
Yeah.
And you would like to attract a mate in such a way as they see
That's
you. That's
true.
Like, oh, hey.
That part's true. Yeah.
A long-term mate?
Yeah.
So for me, thinking about it, like, here is another comment that our father made to me. Love you, Dad.
Just call this session Dad Roast. We're just roasting Dad the whole time.
We get breakfast every week, and we have for, probably the last 5 years or so. And he had said something along the lines of, and I'm probably going to butcher it, and it's maybe going to sound worse coming from me than when Dad said it, but something along the lines of, like, you have a very beautiful wife, and she's in very good shape, and do you really expect her to, just stay around and watch you as you get bigger and out of shape? Yeah.
Huh.
Yep.
Huh.
And that, hurt my soul a little bit. It really did, but...
I'm really glad that I can't make it to the breakfast anymore because I don't need whatever wisdom Dad's about to throw at me.
But, he and I have had a relationship in my late 20s and 30s to where we can just say whatever it is to each other. I don't get upset. I don't get offended.
Uh-huh.
I would say he very likely doesn't remember saying that.
No. I said that?
There's probably light implications to it, but that was the message, was you have a beautiful wife, look at you. And
you're a fat piece of shit.
Yes. And I didn't take it as like, oh, Dad hurt my feelings. I was like,
all right, Dad.
You're right. You and Clara, you guys really are right.
Did you tag team this?
Yeah.
Check your emails.
Have you guys been talking? Yeah. So one of the reasons, that I mean, she's in shape. I mentioned she doesn't have that major food drive. She's naturally just, thinner, leaner, in good shape.
Your daughter?
Amber.
Okay, I was going to say because...
And, Claire's the same way.
I've seen that. I've never seen that kid eat anything besides...
Yeah. No, she eats pure crap constantly to fuel the dancing.
She can just do it because she's so active.
Yeah.
But
yes, no, Amber has no food drive. She doesn't eat a lot. I think, when her and I bought this house... And I started working from home, and we threw, a bunch of parties the summer we bought the house. You probably remember, like, the weekend we moved in, we threw that 4th of July party. We were drinking every night. Not, like, obsessively or, like, getting blackout drunk. But, we were having 3, 4, 5 drinks a night and going to bed. And that added up. So we both gained some weight. Her, it was, like, 8 pounds.
Oh, my love handles poofed out a little bit
it was
more.
Like 8 pounds. I gained, like 40.
80 pounds.
Yeah, oh my gosh. That was part of my journey back into the 300-pound plus range. But, yeah, so part of the reason that I still do it is I always see the shirt that says, I lift because my wife is hot. Mm-hmm. Like, that's how I feel. Like, I go into public. I go to places where she's established herself, like her work or at the dance studio. And all these guys know her, all these families know her, and I don't want to walk in there and be like, that's what you're married to?
Hi, I'm Cameron.
Yeah, like that's an insecurity for sure. So one reason for sure that I still lift is just her. And then, my kids, and setting a good example for the kids, because I think about this too. Cooper was there when I first started lifting, and he didn't have a big interest, but I kind of got him to come watch me lift some stuff here and there. And that squat rack that I have, it's not a full rack, it's just like the half rack. I remember I put the bench back there. I had put 225 on there. It was actually 227 because we have some weird 44-pound plates from Mom and Dad's basement from 30 years ago.
The standard ones, not the Olympic ones.
No, they're Olympic, but they're 44 pounds for some reason. I don't know.
Couldn't afford that 45th pound.
I guess. So I put 227 on the bar, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to max out today. And I had Coop come watch, but also kind of spot me. So it didn't have any supports or anything. Had the bench where I could rack it, and then I ended up putting our folding chairs on either side of me so I could set it on the folding chair, except I didn't place them where they needed to be. So 225, 227, I bring it down to my chest, stuck. stuck, completely stuck. And now I feel my shoulder starting to pop, going back to our conversation earlier about doing stupid things, lifting too heavy weight, hurting your shoulder. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, Coop, I need you to pull the collar off of the side of the... And he'd never done it before. So he's trying
panicking.
to unloop, panicking, trying to unloop one of the collars. And he finally manages to get off. And I'm like, all right, just pull one of the plates off and then come to this side and pull one of the plates off. So it's, for me, it feels like 10 minutes. He's frantically running back and forth, pulls them off, gets a couple off just so I can get the bar back up finally. And that was his first time handling a 45-pound plate, too. And I didn't want to dump the weights because we have just tile floor. I didn't want to break everything. So he watched me get destroyed by that 227. Now, fast forward to a couple months later, stuck with it, told him I was going to get it again, and he got to watch me hit 225. He got to watch me hit 250. He got to watch me hit 295. And him getting gradually more excited as he watched his dad take that straight up to feet, right on the nose, not give up, and then get after it, and then get the next marker, and hit the next marker, and hit the next marker. I mean, he still talks about it, and he's still like, Dad, you got to hit 300. You got to hit 315. Like, there's TikTokers that weigh 180 pounds hitting 315. Like, you got to do it. So I haven't maxed out in probably a year, and I generally try not to. But yeah, another reason that I feel like I need to keep with it is because I love having that little bit of admiration. Like, my kid thinks that I'm cool for one thing that I do, which is lift moderately heavy stuff for an average guy. Right. I realize that there are power lifters repping out 500, 600, 700 pounds. That's probably never going to be me, realistically.
But if you look at the sheer numbers of people that can bench 225, let alone, I can't remember what the statistic was. It was like
0.01% or something like that.
For 225, it was like 1 in 10,000 people. And then exponentially lower than that for 315.
Yeah.
So just because you see the guys on TikTok, on YouTube, doing 400 or 500 pounds, that is so rare.
It is.
That's like people that are walking around at 2% body fat all the time. It just does not happen that often. And the people that can do it are sharing it. But the most of the population cannot even touch 225. So,
yeah. Now, that's something, too, that he and I have to talk about quite a bit. Because he doesn't do social media. He doesn't do TikTok. I let him do YouTube. So he does have, like, YouTube Shorts, which is pretty similar. But I've told him a bunch of times, like, I'm going to go check your feed. I'm going to go check your history here and there. I don't want to be watching bikini videos pop up on your feed and TikTok dancing girls and OnlyFans bait videos. If I see that stuff, like, YouTube's gone. He's 14. He does not need his mind going there at this point. I'm sure it does.
Black ducks?
Yes. Black ducks. But he has YouTube, and he sees... Like, he follows a couple of bodybuilders, a couple of strong men, and he sees these just, like, jacked dudes. And I've tried to push him towards following some of the natural guys, like Jeff Nippard. There's I always say it wrong. There's a Jesse James East or Jesse James West. There's been too many Jesse James in the spotlight over the years, but he's done videos with Jeff Nippard before. He's done them with RP Strength and Mike Israetel, and just pretty good, likable guy, pretty jacked, natural. And I like him seeing where you can get naturally before ever having to think about all the other stuff. And these guys are still outliers, right? Like, they're still genetically gifted. They still build muscle in the ways that a lot of us don't. So I want him to understand that he's looking at the world through a lens. And yes, that lens has beautiful, jacked, ripped people through it. But, like, go walk around somewhere. We walked around the Arnold. And he's like, Dad, I can't believe how many just, like, average-looking dudes there are here. Like, fat people.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, this is more
take him to Walmart.
Yeah, yes. This is more accurate, like, fair representation of public and society. Is if all your feed is all jacked dudes, yeah, you might think that people are all just jacked. But then you go out to public and you realize, oh, okay, no, that's pretty freaking rare. And just don't set those expectations on yourself. Don't feel like you need to get to that level, especially this quickly or this young. And just fall in love with the sport. Fall in love with watching yourself change, watching yourself improve. Like, you watched me totally fall flat on my face and get squished by 225, 227 and hurt myself. And then you got to watch me conquer that later on. Like, do that. Like, set some goals, set realistic goals, and meet those goals.
Yep.
And just kind of keep that and fall in love with that process. And then, yeah, when you're in your late 20s, early 30s, and, you know, you kind of hit your genetic limit, and I don't know, we'll have a different conversation then.
Yeah. Just now you hear guys actually talking out about certain things that you should not take unless you're competing.
Yeah.
They never did that before.
Trend.
Yeah, 20 years, like when we were outside of, you know, high school and early 20s, I never used anything, but the people that were using it, no one ever told you against it. Like,
no.
Your longevity is not, unless you are competing and you are aware of the cost to your body and your longevity, don't use these certain compounds.
Yeah.
And now there are actually people openly talking, like, I'm doing this, I know that, you know, being very closely monitored, but they never talked about that stuff before.
Yeah, I've heard quite a few people that I respect, and Chris Bumstead's one of those too, where he's mentioned compounds that he won't ever use again, won't ever touch again. And I've heard plenty of other people say either the sum total of X number of milligrams of gear, so they're using testosterone, Anavar, Primobolan, Tren, all this different stuff, and they're stacking it all and taking so many milligrams. Like, there's a threshold to where they can't handle anything anymore, and not hitting that threshold ever again because of chest tightness, anxiety,
Yeah.
their lipid profile, their blood work, like whatever it is. Like, for me, having, you know, anxiety at one time, like crippling anxiety, curled up in the bathtub thinking I'm going to die.
You're overthinking it. You're
Yeah.
thinking about too much.
Yeah. Getting those full-fledged panic attacks. Like, I can't imagine messing with the stuff that these pros that can handle it, like, they say don't do it.
No.
They say it messes with their heads and messes with their relationships and the anxiety. Like, I'm good.
And if you push through it, even past the initial stages where you have anxiety or chest pains or whatever, now you add all the mental issues that come along with that, and then the sexual aggression that comes along with it. I don't want to mess with my chemistry that much.
No,
For the people that can, it's just like anything else. For the people that can, if you can handle it, you don't have side effects from it, hey, power to you that you can handle that.
Yeah.
I don't think I could. I'm not going to tempt fate. Nor should I think that most people should just be very aware of what they're putting into their body.
Oh, I agree. So, circling back to this, so why we still lift, thinking about the mental aspect, and, you know, we're touching on the mental aspect of taking, you know, anabolics and, like, what that can do to you. This whole thing is a mental game, right? I mean, I mentioned, you know, a few comments to me over the years really put me on this path of lifting, and a lot of that is just getting, like, my own mind straight, right? Like, getting to a point where I'm not as insecure, I'm not as uncomfortable in my own skin. And, you know, I think about, like, we're in our 30s, we have our demons at this point, we all have them, and I feel like the gym was the first place I got to really go fight back and fight those demons. And so taking stuff that would set me back, I don't want to do that.
No.
I don't want to fight them harder or add to the demons that I'm fighting.
No.
So I can't wrap my head around going to that place. But really, I mean, that's another reason I stay there. And that's another reason that, you know I'm only going 3 days a week. I go Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. I go for probably hour 15 to an hour 45, something like that.
Yep.
And I go in there and I'm trying to be a better version of myself. I look at myself in the mirror and I see, you see a good pump and you get to see what you're building, right? Because, like, eventually the tissue on your body builds up to look a lot like what that pump looks like.
Yep.
A year later you've now got a bigger pump, and a year later a bigger pump, and you get to kind of get a glimpse into what you're going to look like, and chasing that better version of myself, chasing, just being happier with myself. I mean, just the mental clarity of being able to do that, and really the mental clarity of just going in and not thinking about anything else, right? Like, sometimes I put on music, just drowned everything out. Sometimes I go to the gym, music, drowned everything out. Like, I'm just in the mode. I'm thinking about the lift. I'm thinking about my breath. I'm checking my heart rate. I'm just focused on the task at hand. And it's like one of the few times throughout the day that I'm not thinking about food again.
Yep.
I'm not thinking about anything else intrusive. And I'm just fighting back.
If that's what you're using it for, is to get better, and like Cooper or my daughter to just know that you're not competing with anybody else that's there. You're not competing with anybody that you see on YouTube. You're not competing with any influencers on Instagram. You're trying to get better than you were last week, and then the next week when you come in, you're trying to be better than that week, and you're eventually going to get to a point just because you're trying to better yourself, and that's your focus. So when you go in there and you see somebody that's bettered themselves for 10 years, just realize that's the culmination of their 10 years of the journey. You're not competing with them. You shouldn't have to look like them yet if you've been doing it for 6 months, a year, whatever. You're not going to look like somebody who's dedicated their whole life to it. So as long as you're trying to go in there and actually get better each time, you're doing the right thing.
Yep. Well, you and I have pretty different backgrounds with this right now. It's coming out of high school and into our early 20s, pretty much same path, right? Like high school, late high school, we got into lifting.
Gangs.
Yes, gangs. Early 20s, we're still lifting. We're both working at the gym. And then we both started working at Verizon. So we basically did all the same things for, 18 into early 20s. And then you kept lifting, and I stopped abruptly. And I think about the years that I spent not lifting. I mean, I had a lot of years of just anxiety. I had a lot of years of, just getting morbidly obese, getting out of shape. My hormones were always screwed up, and they just got worse and worse and worse. And I spent a lot of years just being uncomfortable and fairly unhappy, not because of anybody. I sometimes I would direct it at my wife, which very unfortunate, but it was me being unhappy with myself, and that would somehow manifest in starting an argument, or I don't know, just being generally unpleasant, or coming after her for not doing something particular. And it was really just, it was me and, who I am. So, she's made comments about how much happier I seem. And nobody would have said I was an unhappy person. I don't think anybody.
You're too type B.
Yeah. I'm pretty chill. Nobody would ever say I'm angry or an unhappy person, but it's been enough of a change over the last few years that my wife has noticed it. Hopefully my kids have noticed it. And there's two sides of that. Part of that hurts me a little bit, right? Like I have to think about who I was, and it wasn't intending on being. Like I thought I was being a good version of myself, but I wasn't. And giving up that pursuit of, you said vanity earlier, like it's vanity. That's a bit of it. Like we want to look better, but we want to be the better version of ourselves. And I gave that up for way too long. And I look at guys, so you or, other guys that I know that have been lifting right along since high school, and I think to myself, like, I could be there, right? Like, I'm not saying I could be your size, like the guys that are like, oh, if I just had testosterone and steroids, I could get that big. No, you probably couldn't. But I look at guys that are average built, but they've been lifting for years, and you can tell, like, it's obvious. Their skin is clearer, they're not aging as quickly, they're in better shape, they don't throw their back out when they go move a couch. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, like, I gave that up for a long time. I did throw my back out multiple times. I rolled my ankles and, head first into the wife's bed. And I gave that up for way too long. So I'm officially at that point in my life, obviously with wanting to start this podcast too, that I'm not going to turn back. I mean, no matter how things play out, no matter, getting sick, taking vacations, taking time off, like this is like brushing my teeth at this point. Like it has to get done. It's not, there's no question. I don't feel motivated to brush my teeth. I don't feel motivated to wipe my butt after I go to the bathroom, but it's got to get done. Do you feel motivated to wipe?
Yeah, I don't want...
Are you like, I got to wipe?
Yeah, that's how I feel. I don't think... I don't know. I don't really want to wipe.
No, I don't think...
I have to.
No, that's fair.
I'm very happy to clean the ports. I'm very happy to do that.
I'm just saying it's not like this task that you look forward... You look forward to relieving yourself. But are you like, I can't wait to wipe after?
Usually.
That's weird.
No, I'm not excited. I'm not going to write a poem about it.
That's all I'm saying. Is like it's something that needs to get done.
I'm like, oh, better hurry the hell up and wipe. I'm never like...
All right, I'm going to go back to the toothbrush analogy, the brushing your teeth analogy.
Go with the toothbrush. That needs to be done.
It needs to be done. I don't care to do it. I don't get excited about it.
Before bed especially.
Yeah, I don't get as excited as you obviously do about wiping your butt, but...
Sorry that you think a spotty, crumbly butt is in your best interest. I don't want it to be like that.
Just saying, it needs done.
I got to keep the moneymaker clean.
The moneymaker. I have a lot of follow-up questions to that.
Yeah, good.
For another time.
Okay.
Is that your OnlyFans page?
It's for another time, remember?
No, I want to.
You can put a...
I lied. I want to make it now. No,
I'm going to start one. I have like a compilation of...
You've just been saving up butt shots?
Yeah.
Just b-hole shots?
Yeah.
This
took a turn. Yeah,
I got nothing.
We're going to edit this part out. Yeah.
We should.